running waters she had heard that quiet evening was in her ears as she lay on her deathbed. So well had she learnt their tune. And now all was over. She had driven in to Llandew, sitting by her lover's side, living in the bright present, and strangely forgetful of the past or the future. She had dreamed out her dream, and she had awakened from the vision of love. She walked slowly and sadly down the long hill, her tears fast falling, but as quickly wiped away, while she strove to make steady the low quivering voice which was often called upon to answer some remark of Miss Benson's. They had to wait for the coach. Ruth buried her face in some flowers which Mrs. Hughes had given her on parting, and was startled when the mail drew up with a sudden pull, which almost threw the horses on their haunches. She was placed inside, and the coach had set off again, before she was fully aware that Mr. and Miss Benson were travelling on the outside. But it was a relief to feel she might now cry without exciting their notice. The shadow of a heavy thundercloud was on the valley, but the little upland village church, that showed the spot in which so much of her life was passed, stood out clear in the sunshine. She grudged the tears that blinded her as she gazed. There was one passenger who tried after a while to comfort her. "Don't cry, miss," said the kind-hearted woman. "You're parting from friends, maybe. Well, that's bad enough, but when you come to my age, you'll think none of it. Why, I've 3 sons, and they're soldiers and sailors, all of them, here, there, and everywhere. One is in America, beyond the seas; another is in China, making tea; and another is at Gibraltar, 3 miles from Spain. And yet, you see, I can laugh and eat and enjoy myself. I sometimes think I'll try and fret a bit, just to make myself a better figure. But, Lord, it's no use. It's against my nature, so I laugh and grow fat again. I'd be quite thankful for a fit of anxiety as would make me feel easy in my clothes, which them manty makers will make so tight I'm fairly throttled." Ruth durst cry no more. It was no relief. Now she was watched and noticed, and plied with a sandwich or a gingerbread each time she looked sad. She lay back with her eyes shut, as if asleep, and went on and on, the sun never seeming to move from his high place in the sky, nor the bright hot day to show the least sign of waning. Every now and then Miss Benson scrambled down, and made kind inquiries of the pale, weary Ruth; and once they changed coaches, and the fat old lady left her with a hearty shake of the hand. "It is not much farther now," said Miss Benson, apologetically, to Ruth. "See, we are losing sight of the Welsh mountains. We have about 18 miles of plain, and then we come to the moors and the rising ground, amidst which Eccleston lies. I wish we were there, for my brother is sadly tired." The first wonder in Ruth's mind was, why then, if Mr Benson was so tired, did they not stop where they were for the night? For she knew little of the expenses of a night at an inn. The next thought was, to beg that Mr Benson would take her place inside the coach, and allow her to mount up by Miss Benson. She proposed this, and Miss Benson was evidently pleased. "Well, if you're not tired, it would be a rest and a change for him, to be sure; and if you were by me, I could show you the first sight of Eccleston, if we reach there before it is quite dark." So Mr Benson got down, and changed places with Ruth. She hardly yet understood the numerous small economies which he and his sister had to practise, the little daily self-denials, all endured so cheerfully and simply that they had almost ceased to require an effort, and it had become natural to them to think of others before themselves. Ruth had not understood that it was for economy that their places had been taken on the outside of the coach, while hers, as an invalid requiring rest, was to be the inside, and that the biscuits which supplied the place of a dinner were in fact chosen, because the difference in price between the two would go a little way towards fulfilling their plan for receiving her as an inmate. Her thought about money had been hitherto a child's thought. The subject had never touched her, but afterwards, when she lived a little while with the Bensons, her eyes were opened, and she remembered their simple kindness on the journey, and treasured the remembrance of it in her heart. A low grey cloud was the first sign of Eccleston. It was the smoke of the town hanging over the plain. Beyond the place where she was expected to believe it existed arose round, waving uplands, nothing to the fine outlines of the Welsh mountains, but still going up nearer to heaven than the rest of the flat world into which she had now entered. Rumbling stones, lamp posts, a sudden stop, and they were in the town of Eccleston, and a strange, uncouth voice on the dark side of the coach was heard to say, "Be ye there, master?" "Yes, yes," said Miss Benson quickly. "Did Sally send you, Ben? Get the ostler's lantern, and look out the luggage." Chapter 12